Welcome. So now we're going to be graphing equations in slope-intercept form. So the slope-intercept form of the equation gives you a quick way to graph the equation. So step one, write the equation in slope-intercept form by solving for y. You're going to find the y-intercept. Right? So when it's in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, that constant there that's added in, that's your y-intercept. Right? So use it to plot the point where the line crosses the y-axis, and then find your slope. That's the coefficient in front of x. Use it to plot a second point on a line. I quite honestly like to plot as many points as I can. I find that if I just do two lines, I tend not to make a very straight line. But 2 is the minimum. I'll do as many as I can up here. Right? And then we just draw the line through the points. And remember, the line is going to keep on going. Right? So don't end it at the points. It has arrows, so it continues on forever. All right, so here we're going to use the example 2y equals 6x plus 4, right? And so follow along, and we're going to put this into this equation in slope-intercept form, which means we need to isolate the y. Well, we won't have very much to do to isolate the y. We have just one thing to do, and that is divide by 2. Y is equal to 3x plus 2. We want to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Our slope is the number in front of x. If necessary, you can put it over 1 so it forms a fraction so that you can remember the rise and the run, so you don't just count up 3 and forget to go to the right one. All right, so I'm going to write the slope as 3 over 1. All right, so normally, though, I would just write the slope as 3. Right? It's just because I want you to remember this is the rise and the 1 is the run, right? So don't just keep counting up. The b value is where the line crosses the y-axis. It's the constant in the equation once it's written in slope-intercept form. All right, make sure you're watching the sign of the number. In this case, it is positive. It's positive 2. So our y-intercept is the point 0, 2. All right, so we're going to graph our point and use our slope to get more points. And we're going to do that on the next page. I'm going to write the equation again because we can't see it over on, you can't see the last page. Y equals 3x plus 2 is our equation. All right, so we're going to plot the y-intercept on the y-axis. Remember that the y-intercept was the point 0, 2. Right, so right there. And then our slope, our rise is 3. The run is 1. So I just count up 3, 1, 2, 3 to the right 1, up 3 to the right 1, up 3 to the right 1. However, we can get more points than that because our slope could also be thought of as -3 over -1. So that means we can count down 3 and to the left 1. So counting down 3, 1, 2, 3 to the left 1. And notice they're all still in the same line. If somebody wasn't in line, then we'd know we'd made a mistake. I'm going to use a line tool. Otherwise, my line doesn't tend to be very straight on here. And you should use a straight edge or ruler. Now, although my line is straight, it can't help but be. Now it has to go through the points. And we'll tweak it just a teeny bit. How'd I do? I think my line is pretty good, but I think in a couple places oops, no, don't move, you were fine. Well, my points could be pushed up a little bit if I made bigger dots. But anyway, make bigger dots. But the line is pretty good. All right, and there's our equation. We should put arrows, right, because it keeps on going forever and ever. And you can always check to make sure your graph is correct by choosing some values for x and solving for y, or just plugging in an xy point and seeing if it makes sense. All right, we'll just do that, just, to practice that. So here we have the point 5, 1, 1, 5. Keep wanting to do that today. Go backwards. All right, so if I plug in the 1 for the x, let's do that over here. So y equals 3x plus 2. If I plug in the 1 for the x and the 5 for the y, we get a true statement. 5 is equal to 3 plus 2. That is true. All right, so but you don't have to do this, but it's just a way if you're not sure, then you can always check yourself. Okay? I'll put check, and I'll put optional. You're probably not going to need to check yourself, but just in case. All right, let's do one more. What is the slope and y-intercept of the following equation? X plus 4y is equal to 24. All right, so first thing, we need to move the x. All right, so we're going to subtract x from both sides. Actually, let's do it down here where it says put your equation in slope-intercept form. All right, first I asked the question, now we'll do the work. All right, so let's subtract the x. So we have 4y is equal to negative x plus 24. And then our last step, we have to divide everything by 4, all 3 terms. All right, so that gives us y, because the 4's will cancel. Negative x over 4, you can write it like this. Or if you like, you can write it as negative 1/4 x. They're the exact same thing, except my 4 is looking a little bit too much like a 9. And then 24 divided by 4, that's 6. Right? And these are the exact same equation. It's just whatever you prefer. If you want it to be negative 1/4 all by its lonesome and then next to the x, or if you just want that as the 4 undivided underneath it. Either way, that's saying the same thing. Both of those mean negative 1/4 x. All right, and our slope, of course, it might be easier, the second method, for you to recognize your slope. You might think, wait, maybe my slope is 4 or negative 4 in the first method, in the first way it's written over here. And you'd be wrong because it is negative 1/4 using either method. Right? So that 4 in the denominator, that's the same as 1/4. Our y-intercept is the point 0.06. So let's remember our equation as we graph it on the next page. Y is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 6. So we have y is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 6. Just as a reminder, our slope is negative 1/4. So that's our rise and our run. And the y-intercept is 0.6. So we're going to graph the point 0.6. Right, and then we're going to, since the slope is negative, we're going to count down 1 and then to the right 4. Right, so we're going down, left to right. So positive slope, remember, goes up, left to right, and negative slope goes down, left to right. And so our slope, I should have saved myself some space here. Let me move the y-intercept down. Oh, of course I can't move the y-intercept down. Although the number we need first anyway is the y-intercept, because we graphed that first. So let's put it in my top. All right, so we can also think of our slope not just as negative 1/4, but positive 1/-4. Right, so that means we can count up now and to the left. And notice that's still a negative slope, right? Because we read lines left to right. I'm just graphing right to left to get my point. So up 1 to the left 4. And that's all I can graph. Let's connect our points. There we go. You know, it's beautiful on the right-hand side of the graph. It's absolutely atrocious on the left-hand side of the graph. I usually move the line up and down. I think I will take that one. And let's put arrows. And there we go. There is our equation graphed. So that's all there is to graphing in when it's in slope, an equation when it's in slope-intercept form. And we are now done. And here are a couple problems for you to graph. All right? And so you can do these on whiteboards in class, and these will be posted on the website, as well as I can put them up in class. Bye for now. Thanks for watching my podcast.